Hermione here, welcoming you to the wonderful world of words. I'm going to be reading Anancy and Mr. Drybone. Mr. Drybone lived in a big house at the top of a hill. He was very rich and he wanted to marry Miss Louise. Anancy lived in a small house at the foot of the hill. He was very poor, and he wanted to marry Miss Louise as well. Miss Louise lived on the other side of the hill. She wasn't rich, and she wasn't poor. She was very clever and very, very beautiful. But Miss Louise had never laughed in her whole life. So the first man who could make her laugh, that was the one she'd marry. Mr. Drybone knocked on Miss Louise's door. He was all dressed up in his very best clothes. "Good evening," he said. "I've brought all my powerful conjuring tricks and I'm going to make you laugh." "Well," said Miss Louise, "this I've got to see." Mr. Drybone turned himself into a bat that flapped and a cat that spat. He turned himself into a pig that honked and a rabbit that did nothing. But Miss Louise never smiled. Mr. Drybone turned somersaults and cartwheels and stood upside down on the ceiling. But still Miss Louise never smiled. Anancy said to himself, "I can do better than that." Anancy went to Tiger and said, "Lend me your best evening suit. I'm going to visit Miss Louise." Tiger said, "My evening suit is at the cleaner's right now, but you can borrow my jogging suit." Anancy went to see Dog. "Lend me your top hat. I'm going to visit Miss Louise." Dog said, "My top hat got crushed the other day, but you can borrow my hunting hat." Anancy went to Alligator. "Lend me your shiny black evening shoes. I'm going to visit Miss Louise." "They got soaked at the dance last night," mumbled Alligator, "but you can borrow the other ones." Monkey swung through the trees and called to Anancy, "You'll need a tie when you visit Miss Louise." Parrot squawked and dropped some feathers. "Put these in your hunting hat, Anancy. They'll look real good when you visit Miss Louise." Anancy knocked on Miss Louise's door. "I've come to show you much better conjuring tricks than Mr. Drybone's." Miss Louise took one look at Anancy and began to laugh. She laughed and laughed till the tears rolled down her face. "Anancy," she gasped, "that is the weirdest get-up I ever did see." Everyone laughed, even Mr. Drybone. "Okay, you win," he said. So Anancy married Miss Louise, and they all lived happily ever after. All right, talk with your parents if you like the book, why or why not, and see if there's any theme you can find in the story. Have a good night, everyone, and remember, be clever.